Hello, hello there. I'm so excited you stumbled upon this video. You have come across the fourth day of a money shift workshop that I led back in the summertime. And it is one that was like really fantastic and transformative. So if you want to watch the other 3 days, definitely head over to the channel. But what you are watching right now is the fourth day, which was all about learning how to pay yourself, how to reinvest in your business, and how to prepare your business for tax season appropriately. All teaching through the feminine finance methodology, which I have founded and teach as a money and mindset coach. So if you're not familiar with me, I'm Eleanor Prisco and I work as a money and mindset coach. So I hope you enjoy this video and I hope you find some juicy strategies to implement in your business. I am so excited. This is day 4 of the Money Shift workshop. And I am so excited to be talking to you today about the importance of separation in your finances, the importance of paying yourself, of being prepared for tax season, all of these juicy mindset shifts and strategies that you're going to want to implement when it comes to your finances, and how to lean even deeper into a fun and easy and pleasure-filled relationship with your money. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Eleanor Prisco, and I am so excited to be coming here to you today to talk as a money and mindset coach around strategic action steps you can take in your business finances and personal finances, and leaning into mindset shifts you can make. So with that, we are going to hop right into day 4, which is all about, as I said, the separation of finances, the importance of separation, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people veer away from when it comes to business finances, or when you get into business programs or marketing programs or whatever it might be, right? Of like, I'm going to help you grow your business. And the thing that always seems to be forgotten is actually talking about the management of your finances. So if you resonate with that, definitely let me know in the comments. If you've enrolled in a number of programs, and, you know, the one thing that's always kind of left untalked about is money, right? That delicious taboo topic that no one really wants to talk about, because it's like, oh, I'm not a tax expert. I can't tell you, like, find an accountant, find a tax expert. I can't talk to you about that. So obviously, when you come to work with me, it's vastly different. We talk about how do we set up strategic, systems in place in your business to allow you to gain greater stability. These same aspects can be applied to your personal finances as well, which I think is really hilarious, right? Because a lot of times, how I got started in this financial work was that I started managing my own finances. I then started helping my friends get out of credit card debt and, set up sustainable repayment plans and actually create financial plans for themselves of savings and debt repayment and, just tracking their finances. And then when I started my own business doing that same work, I started to see some of those same things mirroring over to business finances. And I thought it was really crazy that if we were just all following these really simple, easy strategies, we would have such a vastly different relationship with our money. And that is what has become the feminine finance methodology, right? There are core pillars of this. I've been talking about them throughout the past 4 days. If you want to go check out those other 3 days, make sure to head over to the channel and check out the days 1 through 3, where I talk about different aspects of getting started, shifting your relationship with debt, and also getting paid, and like understanding payment plans and all of that good stuff. So let me know what have been big takeaways for you over the course of the 3 days. But as we talk about the importance of separation of finances, I really think, it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's one of the easiest first steps we can take when it comes to our business finances. And how you can see this mirrored in personal finances is a separation of, our spending accounts and our savings accounts, right? Because so often folks come to work with me and the main point of confusion is honestly just that their personal finances and their business finances are like intertwined. It's just that they're coming from one account, and like it's totally creating so much confusion, and they just feel like there's not enough money. And scarcity mindset really creeps in here, right? And when I tell them, okay, like we're going to want to separate your finances, we want a personal account, we want a business account. A lot of fear can come up, right? A lot of fears around legitimacy and like, how do I get that account? And then also just fears of, well, there's not going to be enough money and I really can't do that, right? And the biggest thing that's happening there, right, in this next step of separating out finances is a fear of scarcity, right? That's what's mainly coming up there, is that, there is this fear of, well, there's not going to be enough, and what am I going to do about it? So let me know if you've experienced that in your own, money journey, whether that be on the business or personal side, of just like the fear of, well, there's not going to be enough money, right? Because this same experience can be mirrored when we go into the personal side of the finances. And we're like, okay, well, we want to start saving. And it's like, okay, well, then let's start saving. Let's start transferring money into a savings account and separating it out from your spending account. And what ends up happening is people are like, well, like, I'm really nervous to do that. What if I don't have enough money for my spending? And it's like, well, what if you do have enough money for your spending? What if you do have enough money to pay yourself? What if you do have enough money to, pay your team or pay the overhead costs that you have happening in your business, right? And so I think that, one of the big aspects, as I started implementing this in my personal finances and then started seeing that it needs to happen on the business side after reading the book Profit First, and I do a version of Profit First, but it's like definitely a more easy, pleasurable version rather than like kind of the rigid path that Profit First outlines. I think that it can allow our money experience to be enjoyable and to be pleasurable and to, be a really, fantastic experience. So when I personally finally started separating things out and doing the division method that I teach with the Feminine Finance Methodology in Money Academy, it's actually when I started seeing the biggest results in my business, right? It's when I started finally experiencing and seeing, financial stability and being financially stable from my business. And I think that that feeling is so pleasurable and so enjoyable. And it's something I deeply desire for you and your business. And so, when I tell my clients to do this, they definitely, it's like, they're terrified. They're like, but there's not going to be enough money to pay my team. If they've grown to that point, there's not going to be enough money to pay me. There's just not going to be enough money. Like, I don't think you understand, Eleanor. And the thing is that they're always kind of delightfully surprised that when they start implementing this, there is enough money, right? There is enough money to pay their team or to pay their overhead expenses, and there is enough money to pay them, and there is enough money to reserve for their taxes. And the sense of safety which it creates, right? Of like, oh, I have this breathing room of finally being able to pay myself. I have this breathing room of there always being money for my team or for my overhead expenses. And I also now have this like savings account for when, April 15th rolls around, and I am like that burden of, taxes is not weighing on me. And so I want to go through these different categories because I think just in general, separation is key, separation of, personal from business finances. I think the other aspect that it does here on like a mindset level is it gives you a sense of legitimacy in your business, right? When you separate out your business finances from your personal finances and you're like, oh, I have a business account, I have, this is where all my operating expenses are paid from, like this, I'm paying myself, right? When you separate that out, like you start to see your business as a business, right? And I hate how cliche that sounds, but it's so true, right? Because taking this step to be like, oh no, this is the space for my business money completely shifts how we relate to that money, right? We're really able to step into that energy of being a CEO, of really seeing our business as this legitimate thing that can support us and support our reinvestment and support us through tax season. And so I want to know if you've ever contemplated that like flip side when you've thought about opening a business account or when you've thought about, kind of organizing your business finances, of like the payoff that's available on the other side of separation, of like, creating that energetic shift for yourself through your strategic action steps, right? So if you haven't guessed already, the very first strategic action step that I'm talking about here is separation, right? Creating an account just for your business finances and having your personal account be separate and you paying yourself, which leads me to the next strategy, right? Which is pay yourself first, okay? So there's that, as I was saying, like there's that energetic shift that happens when we separate out our finances, and it can really, impact how we show up in our business, how motivated we are. And this becomes even heightened when you start paying yourself, right? Because you've created that separation and then you start paying yourself. And the thing is, this, I think, is one of the most impactful action steps that my clients take when they come to work with me, is like they start paying themselves, because it's very interesting. And like, and this is not throwing shade at anyone, because like, it's exactly what I did as well when I started in my business. But, we got out of the 9-to-5 world, we got out of that corporate world to have greater freedom, right? Whether that be financial freedom, whether that be time freedom, whether that be location freedom, right? Like we wanted freedom. We wanted to be controlling our time. We wanted to have agency over things. And then when it comes to our business, all of a sudden, right, we're never paying ourselves, right? For the longest time, it was just for myself, and so many of my clients included, it's like, you're just being in response. You're like, money comes in and it goes out. I use it to pay what it needs to pay at that time. However, when you start implementing the feminine finance methodology of this division technique, and you start paying yourself first, like you separate out your finances and you pay yourself. And it's like that money is available for you to use and live off of and, utilize how you see fit. You suddenly get this sense of support from your business. You start to experience and realize what it is like to be financially supported from your creation. And this is a big step that is skipped in, business coaching programs and in, just in general. And so this, just kind of being in response to whatever financial needs come up and paying them, rather than being like, oh, okay, this is, the money that came in and it goes through this division process. When you aren't paying yourself, you're just headed down a road of burnout, right? Because you start to experience frustration and resentment towards your business, because it's just like, why can my business not provide for me? Why can it not support me? What's wrong with my business? What's wrong with me? I'm not providing enough value. I'm not convincing people enough. I'm bad with sales. I'm bad with marketing. The list can go on and on and on, right? But the thing is, really what's happening is you just have not put in the right strategy, right, around your finances. And I can't stress this enough. It's really one of these things that, like, when you decide to pay yourself first, you are starting to see like, oh no, my business can support me, right? I feel excited to keep showing up in my business. I feel excited to keep, posting, to keep engaging, to keep putting my offer out there. I am seeing people buy, and I'm seeing those same customers become, supporters of me and my mission and supporters of my life, right? There's a huge dynamic shift in how you show up and want to get visible when you start actually implementing paying yourself first and making sure that your finances are separated and really getting your finances organized. And your income just grows. It just keeps going up from there, right? Because you've implemented these strategies where you finally give yourself permission that you're allowed to be paid, right? And you're worthy of being paid from your services, and you're carrying that out in your action steps, okay? And so I know that on a mindset level, it can feel really terrifying to implement these separation techniques and to implement paying yourself, first and making yourself the priority. But that's what is the priority, because you got into this business most likely for that freedom, right? So let me know, what one resonates with you the most when it comes to why you got into your business. Was it time freedom? Was it financial freedom? Was it location freedom? Was it just actually, feeling fulfilled by the work that you were doing? And so I think that all of those things can be so impactful to why we show up in our business. And if we're not actually receiving financial stability, right, or, financial support, which grows into financial stability when we start paying ourselves, it can be, really demotivating to keep going. And so that's why I want to encourage you to definitely implement paying yourself first and making sure that you are, earning money from your business if you haven't been already. And I'm not talking about just being like, oh, well, I do pay myself because like money comes in and I pay my rent or I pay my bill or I like do this. If it's just in response to things and it's not like, oh, I'm paying myself $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 per month from my business, and I'm able to spend that money as I see fit. I'm able to support my financial desires of savings. I'm able to, enjoy myself. And then there's a whole other pot of money available for reinvesting in your business and a whole other pot of money for taxes. Like, I just really want to encourage you to, contemplate this different perspective, because I think that a lot of people don't necessarily consider that in their business structure. And they're kind of like, oh, well, like once I have more money, I'll implement some kind of system like this. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you go first, if you implement a system like this, like the feminine finance methodology, right? Like if you implement paying yourself first, if you implement reserving funds for reinvesting in your business, if you implement reserving for taxes, you are going to make more money in your business, right? Like the sales are going to come in because you are giving your money this safe place to land. Like you're giving it a place to go. Like you're very clear on where it's going rather than just being very reactionary to money that's coming in. So I'm seeing in the comments, yes, both time and financial freedom. Yes, absolutely. It's like why we got into this business. It's certainly why I got into my business. And like, I've been able to achieve that now, right? After implementing these systems that I teach in Money Academy, right? Like I have now been able to live abroad the past 2 months, right? And I'm going to be going home for 2 weeks and then I'm going to be off again, right? But it's like, I have been able to do that because I created and followed the systems that I now teach. And I have decided to pay myself. I've decided to give myself permission to have that time freedom, that financial freedom to be able to travel, the location freedom, right? Of really being able to be like, oh, I can live in other places and I can go and enjoy myself and I can, create my own schedule. And that's all because I implemented this division technique that is taught in the feminine finance methodology, right? Of like separation, 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 and trusting the percentage divisions. And so the very first thing, right, is paying yourself first. Now, the next area that I want to talk about is reinvesting in your business, right? Because the thing is, when we actually implement this division technique, what happens here is like a lot of times we're reinvesting in our business, like just like when we have the money, or we're doing it on credit. And there's no problem with that. I've literally done it both ways, right? It's like, oh, I have the money to invest in this right now, and this is like what I can do, or like I've done it on credit. Like neither is good or bad, right? But it's more about like when we have a reserved amount of like, oh, this is, reserved for business operating expenses, right? Overhead, whatever you might want to call it. But it's like, this is the function of this percentage, right? Is allows you to have guideposts of where you're at in your business, where you are not sacrificing your own financial stability to just reinvest in the business or invest in a program or invest in whatever it might be, whatever thing that you might be thinking might be like that, like the magical like formula. And I'm not saying that like you've made negative investments, but there have definitely been times where I've invested outside of myself and I didn't have the money. And it was something that was like, oh, I wasn't following like this division of like, this is how much money you have for this month and the next few months because you've been implementing really solid payment plans, right? But it's like you have this money to reinvest in your business and you can see and be able to make commitments to hiring a VA, right? To adding on an email platform, to getting a website started or anything like that, right? This can look very different for each person. But it's more like you have that money and it is available and waiting there because like no matter what of the money that is coming in your business, a percentage of it is going back to being reinvested in the business so that you don't have to necessarily be, beating yourself up about investing in your business. Oh, am I allowed to do this? Is this fiscally responsible of me or irresponsible of me? Or, oh my gosh, like, why should I be allowed to invest in myself, right? But it's like, oh no, these are funds reserved for exactly this purpose, right? To invest in platforms, to invest in coaching programs, to invest in, systems and, team that's going to support you on this journey in growing your business. And so you're able to then, right, have such like a neutral experience with investment and have such a more easeful and pleasurable experience investing in those programs. And so when you go into those programs and it feels good and it feels like a yes, they continue to feel that way. And you're not then putting all this pressure on yourself as you go through that program, pretty much being like, okay, I need to get the return on investment, right? I need to get that ROI. What do I need to do? I need to watch all the modules. I need to attend all the calls. Otherwise, I made a financial mistake by investing in this program. Let me know if that's been you, right? Like if you've kind of fallen into that trauma response when you've joined a program where you're suddenly like, okay, I've made this huge risk and I've invested and now I need to like really pressure myself to show up in every single possible way. There's a difference in like being like, I'm going to show up in this program and I'm certain this program is going to work for me versus I need to make sure that I get every single penny of what I invested in this program. And like, if I don't, then it gives me permission to beat myself up, right? Or to, kind of just like, I'm blanking on the word, but just kind of like, like mentally, like beat yourself up for not doing enough, right? And so I think that that's vastly different. So then when you implement these strategies, right, of reinvesting in your business and having reserve for that, it completely shifts the dynamic of how you invest in your business, right? And so I think that can be so transformative and really bring a lot of deep empowerment to us as business owners because it's like, oh no, I have this money available and I don't need to, be going through the experience of, oh my gosh, I've overinvested, because I definitely know other programs that like, it's like, once you get into their program, like their financial advice is pretty much like, just don't invest in anything else. Just trust that this program is enough and don't invest in another single program. And I don't necessarily know if that's sustainable because I feel like that's kind of like going back to deprivation techniques of budgeting. Now, of course, right? Sometimes like we can like struggle with the thing of like shiny object syndrome and like just turning from one program to another. However, if like your strategy to tell your clients is just like, do not invest in another thing, I don't think that that's really helpful. Like, I think that what can be more transformative, and of course, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments, but if you don't agree with me, you also can let me know in the comments, let me know your thoughts, right? But I think that, what would be more empowering is like allowing a client to learn how to discern what is aligned investing and what's out of alignment investing. Like if you're searching outside of yourself for answers, most likely that's out of alignment investing. If you are investing because you're like, oh, I've been watching this person for a while, I've looked at their programs, this program has come around a while, they're teaching a really specific thing that like I don't think my current programs that I'm in or like programs I've done in the past have taught me. And I really want to learn this skill, or I really want to learn this aspect of my mindset, or discover and like explore this aspect of my mindset. I think that that can be very different versus, oh, just like don't invest in anything else at all, because then like we just kind of send ourselves into a guilt and shame spiral when we do decide to invest in something else, because it was like, oh, see, you shouldn't have invested in something else. That's really what did it. And I just think those are really unsustainable techniques, and it's not necessarily great advice, not great financial advice, right? Of like, oh, well, that's just how you go ahead and change your overhead costs. It's like, well, can we actually just like take a look at like what's going on financially though? So that leads me to the next area, right? Which is reserving for taxes. And so this is a huge thing that I think every single person that has come to work with me, this has been like a transformative step in their business. Normally, tax season is marked by stress and anxiety. You know, April 15th is rolling around and there is just this dread. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to have to file an extension and I'm never filing on time. Let me know if that's your experience in the comments. I want you to know you are not alone, because, you know, this is so common, because taxes just as an individual, right, are stressful and overwhelming, and people have no idea what to do about them. So then when you add on the fact that you're a small business owner or just like a business owner, and you're then trying to figure out, oh, am I a sole proprietor? Am I an LLC? Should I be forming an S corp, right? Like you add on all these layers of complexity, and then like seeing the tax forms be so complicated, and you're like, I don't even know where to begin. On top of that, your business and personal finances are intermingled. So you're attempting to go back through 12 months of, you know, bank statements or credit card statements, and you have multiple credit cards and things are just a mess and all over the place. And you're like, I just don't even know where things are. I think that it makes complete sense that it's an overwhelming experience and stressful. And so one of the biggest things, right, when you start reserving for taxes and getting, you know, your finances tax ready, this goes back to my very first point, separation, separation, separation. When you're talking about needing to just go through one account and that's where all your business expenses live, that can be vastly more easeful, more pleasurable, more enjoyable than trying to be like, oh, this expense from 11 months ago, was that personal or business? I can't recall. Oh, well, I'll just leave it because like, I don't know if I could deduct it, and like, let's go on to the next one. And then like, there's just all this confusion, right? So I think like number one, separation is going to totally help you with tax season anxiety. And then number two, right, is actually starting to reflect on your mindset around taxes. This is one that I think a lot of people overlook as a business owner, is that like, you know, you were paying tax, like when you were in a 9-to-5 job, or even like, you know, an hourly like job, you're paying taxes, right? Like you get your paycheck or your pay stub and you've already paid taxes out, and then you might need to pay more, right, come April 15th. As a business owner, you may not be paying taxes as you go. So when you get to April 15th and all of a sudden you see this, you know, $10,000, $20,000 tax bill, it can be really, really overwhelming for your nervous system to be like, oh my God, where am I going to come up with this money, right? And so if you're not reserving for taxes now, like a way to mitigate that is to start reserving for it. And I know you're probably thinking, Eleanor, there's not enough money to do that. I need every single dollar that comes into my business to support me. And I hear you, but if you start separating and you start implementing these division techniques that I'm talking about and that I teach in Money Academy, so if you want someone to hold your hand through that, definitely check out the link below where you can learn about Money Academy. Like, because enrollment is open right now, like you can implement these things, and there is going to be a massive shift in your business, and you're going to start to experience greater financial stability, right? Because it's so vastly different when you implement these organization techniques into your money, right? And so when we start reserving for taxes, and we can start to realize that we might be feeling resentful and angry that this money is getting reserved for taxes and that we're going to have to pay back these huge, pay in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? However, I want to ask you, when you've set out, financial desires or intentions of having, a six-figure business, hitting $1 million, having $1 million as take home, right? As your own pay from your business, had you considered that you will need to pay taxes on that, right? When we have these contradictory feelings around oh, I desire this 6-7-figure business and I don't want to pay any taxes, well, you can't really have one without the other, right? The thing that is going to help you, though, is having systems put in place that are going to allow you to hit those 6 and 7 figures and also reserve for taxes so that you're feeling totally tax neutral, right? And I think it's always such a pleasure for me when people come to work with me and for the first time in their lives, as a business owner, they are filing their taxes on time and they have a tax reserve and they're like, oh my gosh, I never realized that it really could be this easy. I didn't have to keep delaying it till October and beating myself up, feeling like crap about this and thinking that I was a total fraud as a business owner, where it's yes, if you implement systems and you choose to implement easy and pleasurable systems, the ones that I teach, then that's what happens, right? That's just what happens. So, when you start to actually reflect on how you feel towards your taxes, right? Doing mindset work around how do you feel about having to pay taxes? How do you feel about paying lots of taxes? How do you feel about having your business finances organized so you could potentially pay less taxes? Because if your business finances are organized, you most likely are going to be capturing a lot more deductions than you previously were, right? Which allows you to pay yourself more, have more of a take-home profit for your business. And so I think that you're absolutely going to be able to deduct more, but you've got to start, now, and you've got to start getting your finances organized if you want to get there, right? And so I think that taxes is one of those things that can really take us out, or it's one of those, it's kind of like a black box we want to ignore. It's just you know what? I'm going to leave that till later. I'm not going to engage with that. And so I think that there's lots of fun and playful ways that we can actually start to engage with it, of starting with these strategies of separation and reserving for taxes, and even potentially having that tax money be invested strategically so that it's making money while, it's sitting in an account being reserved and it's not at risk of being lost, right? And being able to then pay your taxes and have made money from that money, right? I think that there's a lot of really empowering choices we can make with our tax reserve, and also with just reserving money in general for taxes. Because let's say you over reserve and it's just okay, great, you're a brilliant CEO who planned a bonus for yourself at the end of the year. How deliciously fantastic is that, right? Who doesn't want a bonus? So I think that there's a lot of playfulness that we're allowed to have with taxes that currently isn't in the financial field. And it's one that I love teaching, and I love showing people okay, this is how you track your business finances as, a sole proprietor or single member LLC. This is what your P&L needs to look like. These are your tax categories, and these are the financial records and how to organize them and keep them in place. Because as a small business, technically you need to keep your financial records for up to 7 years, right? And so it's super important to be able to be oh, okay, this is just how we organize things and get things set up so that you can be in a more neutral space, right? When it comes to taxes. Because in regards to all of this, right, reinvesting in your business, tax season, feeling you don't have enough money, and like not being able to pay yourself. I want you to look at all of those. I want you to consider how much like emotional energy takes place just being sucked out by those things because you're feeling anxious, because you're feeling overwhelmed, because you're feeling frustrated, because you're feeling like you're not enough, because you're feeling like you fucked it up, because you're feeling like, you know, you just don't even know where to begin, right? Like all those like feelings, all of those emotions, all of those energetic, like depletion moments that happen, right? In these categories of your business. If that was gone, how much more energy would you have available to be in a creative state, to serve your clients above and beyond, to be spending time with your family or loved ones, to be spending time with your significant others, to be dreaming up that new program that you've always wanted to be actually preparing that program, right? To be writing that sales page, to be communicating with your audience, to be showing up live more frequently, to be, you know, showing up just like randomly inspired, right? All of these things can increase when you finally, you know, kind of get that money thing taken care of or the money thing organized so that it's sucking less of your energy, right? I think that a lot of times we don't necessarily, like, we don't want to get into this like very strategic money talk because it can feel so overwhelming and it can feel like we could really like fuck it up. And I want you to know, like, you won't. Like, it's about learning the easy, simplistic strategies that can transform your financial relationship, right? It's about creating this money shift. It's about actually stepping in and like going first with your money of like, oh, you don't need to wait until it's like, oh, until I have money to manage, right? It's like, no, if you start now, there's going to be money to manage, right? More money will flow into you, into your business, because like it is going into this very organized, systemized place and it feels safe doing so, right? Money craves safety just as much as you do. And so it's all about, okay, like how can we make this experience safer and get ourselves more regulated, because there's then just going to be more and more energy available to be in the creative space and to be engaging with our community and spending time with loved ones. So let me know if that resonates in the comments. Like, let me know if you've ever thought about it that way and it's suddenly like, oh my gosh, like you're totally right. Like there is a huge, you know, like energy suck that's been happening in my life and in my business because of just that, like that back of the mind situation of like being frustrated that there's not money to pay myself and feeling that way, or feeling like I can't invest in the programs I want, right? Or feeling like tax season is going to come and I'm going to be totally screwed. And it feels so like frustrating and overwhelming, right? It's like, if that was all neutralized, if it was like, no, I have a tax reserve. Oh no, I have money, you know, set aside for reinvesting in my business for however I see fit. And I pay myself every single month, right? And so I think that this is really where so much education needs to happen in the entrepreneurship community, right? Because a lot of people don't want to talk about this because it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm then fiscally responsible for this person. And it's like, well, it's also a really important topic to talk about, right? Even if you're talking about it from the sense of, oh, this is like what I've done and like this is what's worked for me, but it's like people won't even talk about that, right? And so I really want to encourage you, like, if this is a strategy that you desire to implement, if you want to, you know, experience like hand holding through the whole process, figuring out what is the right percentages for you and your business, if you know, are wanting to really shift your relationship with debt and create a debt repayment plan, if you're wanting to create this entire separation of business finances, if you're wanting to dive in deep and reflect on your money story and see how it's holding you back, you know, with your internal set points and your pricing and your income, and you really want to transform, you know, what it looks like to be in your business, I really want to encourage you to go ahead and check out Money Academy. I'm going to drop the link in the comments below. Let me know if it came up. I might have to do it from this side of things. But if you are, you know, really wanting to create a new relationship with your finances, if you are wanting to become that, badass money boss that like you've seen floating around the internet, right? And you want to copy link. If you want to finally see shifts in your money relationship, then you're definitely going to want to check out Money Academy. Okay. So we kick off on August 14th. And as I talked about yesterday, what I've implemented is a self-selection tier payment program. So what like this means is it's a sliding scale self-identified investment option. So every single payment plan except one that's pay in full is an 8-month payment plan. The program itself is 6 months. So that means it's 2 months outside the container of like receiving services. But once you sign up, you get access to bonuses and stuff like that right away. Our first call is until August 14th. However, right, what I'm doing here is that there's 8 spots available at each tier, and people get to just self-identify of like, this is where I'm financially at, and this is what I can afford to invest and how I can afford to invest right now. This is the plan that's right for me, for my bank account, for my business, for my money. And like, there's no like approval process or checking of your financial records or bank accounts or things like that. There's no scholarship form. It is literally like, I trust you to know your money and to know what's right for you to make this big shift in your money relationship and in your business and in your life. And I trust that people that have the money for the higher paying plans will choose those, allowing for people that maybe don't have as much funds right now to be in the lower tiers, right? Because I think that like when we're just all more transparent and honest about our financial situation and where we're at, it allows like more people to break down those taboo curtains, right, of talking about money and transparency around our financial position in business and in our lives, right? Especially when like we're like so inundated these days with just social media and like how everyone like thinks everything is like very shiny and perfect, and that's not always what's going on behind the scenes. And so I really want to encourage you, like if you are wanting to like dive deep into this and like lean into a program that's 6 months to just focus on your money, giving you so much spaciousness and time and like dedication to like, oh, like I have never felt so held with my money. Like this is the program for you, right? Because I have found over the years of working with people, 6 months is like this like really magical like time frame of being able to feel supported and see real change happen. And so if you have questions, drop them in the comments, or you can always send me a DM asking me any questions. If you feel uncomfortable leaving it in the comments, but just go ahead and leave a comment if you feel comfortable asking a question. But I think that, this is a program that continually can transform people's lives. And I've seen it transform people's lives time and time again. And it's why people have come back to stay in as an alumni, to like continue staying in the community, to continue getting access to community money dates, to continue getting access to the group calls. So to quickly run through like kind of the nuts and bolts of Money Academy is the program itself is 6 months. As I've said, this is a virtual group program. So you will have access to weekly group coaching calls. And then the final week of the month is actually a community money date call so that you can, really hold yourself accountable and start to implement money dates yourself into your calendar flow. And then there's also a private community for you to connect with people. I'm not there, but that's the space for you to connect with other people and kind of create a money sisterhood of practicing tools and engaging with folks. And then you have modules getting dropped every single month over a variety of topics. The reason why the modules are dropped monthly is because I found that it can feel really overwhelming when people get into containers of like needing to keep up with content being dropped and modules and like getting everything done. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to have this program be longer. I'm going to give you greater spaciousness so that you can live through real life things that happen with money and be able to show up, get support from me, and go through different experiences throughout a year with your money, like half a year with your money, and really be supported in implementing those changes. And so what ends up happening, right, is an ability to either, binge the content when it comes out, which can be a total vibe and enjoyable, right? Or you can be like, oh, okay, like I can slowly watch this over the month, and I know next month new content will drop. And so we have 6 months of content. This ranges from your money story, the first steps of, getting started with building an intimate relationship with your money. We go over debt, we go over investing, including retirement plans. We go over pricing and income. We go over debt repayment. I can't remember if I've said that one yet. We go in with what are the blocks that are maybe happening on a mindset level. And every single month, there's 3 types of modules that are dropped. There's one around methodology, which speaks to the feminine finance methodology and its approach to the different topic. Then there's strategy and mindset. So just as these 3 days have invited you into different mindset practices or different mindset questions to reflect upon, and invited you into strategies that you can implement, like action steps to take. That is what always my programs mirror, right? I have a mixture of, strategy and mindset. I feel like you can't really progress with your money without both of them. And I have implemented that throughout the program of Money Academy. So if you have questions, definitely let me know, send me a DM, drop it in the comments. I will certainly reply to it. As I said, this is a sliding scale investment. So if all at 8 payment plans, and the key here though is there is a limited number of spots per tier. So the lowest tier starts at $195 a month, which is an incredible investment amount. And there are only 8 spots available there. And then the next tier is $222 a month, and there are only 8 spots available there. It caps out at $375 a month. So you're definitely going to want to go ahead and check out the tier that would work best for you and snag your spot in that tier pretty quickly, since there's only 8 spots per tier. But I'm just so excited to be offering this new way of investing with me and investing in financial education. I think that it's so important. And I think that, financial education is what allows us to become deeply financially empowered individuals. And I just know that what we can do when we become financially empowered individuals is really incredible, not only for ourselves and our family, but also for our community, right in front of us, but as a larger community of the world. And so I'm really, really excited to be opening up the doors to Money Academy, and we kick off on the 14th of August. So if you are interested, definitely drop the questions below. Let me know kind of what has been bubbling up for you around this, and let me know what your big takeaways were from this workshop as we sign off. It's been such a pleasure teaching this 4-day workshop around Money Shift. And I think it has some really transformative content within it. And with that, I will see you all later. Bye.